One of the things I want to talk about with hex staking, so I want to talk about this interest part. So of course, as you stake hex, you gain interest, but you, the user, the amount of hex that you stake, um, that's burned. And the thing is, so um, hex circulating supply right now is like 570 billion. And 570 billion is probably one of the biggest circulating supplies in crypto. But I think that's really ingenious by Richard Hart. Now, there are some proof of stake cryptos that do burn their supply over time. But the thing with the circulating supply and hex tokens burning, so if you are an early adopter of hex, because the circulating supply is so big, it is very easy to accumulate a lot of hex. But say if, but over time, more and more people are going to find out about hex, and more people are going to understand how impactful it's going to be to stake hex. And the more people that stake hex, the more that the supply is going to go down. And when the circulating supply goes down, the price of one hex is going to increase, because the bigger the circulating supply, the cheaper a coin, but the increase of a circulating supply, the cheaper a coin is. But when you decrease the circulating supply, then that coin is going to increase. So it's not too big of a deal right now, but it's going to be very impactful in the years to come. The hex is going to be here. We go to something, if we go here, hexinfo.io, at the top, you get the price of one hex. But if we go all the way down, this shows a graph of how many hex is staked and not staked. And the amount staked is below 10%. And that is very, very, very small compared to that's not staked. So I believe over time, once people really start to understand what hex is and the capabilities of it, this will increase. And, because there isn't a lot of people staking hex, that gives you the opportunity to, accumulate a lot of interest, right? But, more people stake, the less interest you have. But at the same time, the more people that are staking, the more hex that's being burned, which will decrease the circulating supply of hex. It's part of staking hex. So one, longer pays better. So the longer you stake your hex, the bigger your payout will be in total. If adding up how many days you staked it, bigger pays better. Uh, so the more hex you stake, the more you'll receive. And I'll say longer is a much, much bigger bonus than bigger pays better, because you might have a lot of hex and you might stake it for 15 days. But what if you had that same amount of hex and you staked it for 1 year? You're gonna accumulate a lot more hex, and I'll kind of demonstrate that later on. So now we go to shares. So shares and hex is the it's kind of like the interest you'll get in hex. Um, and I say it is very important to accumulate as much shares as you can. Because here's the thing, so say if your hex stake, it might have 10 shares, right, like it says in this document, but the amount of other shares um, equal or not any more than you, like it says here. So basically, the calculation is the amount of shares you have divided by the total amount of shares that are active. So that's why shares are very important in Hex when it comes to you know the interest, because you can have this amount of T shares, right, and then this just increases, over time. So you want to try to accumulate as many shares as possible. This will be based on how much you get paid per day for the amount of days you stake, or weeks, months, years. This is the share rate. Um, so if I go here, let's see. So the share price, where is it? So the share price at launch was 1 share per heart, and one heart is no, one hex is worth 1,000,000 hearts. And so I'm gonna go to a different website. So this is gold.hex.com. The share price is over 17 hex, and this is the amount of hearts it is now. So if you so the people who staked hex since day one, it's hard to imagine how many shares they are able to accumulate, because one heart is 1 million of a hex. So that's a lot of shares. I believe I'm saying that correctly, but yeah, that staking hex back when it first launched, that's a lot of shares that you could have gained. I think exaggerated a bit here. When I thought about a share, I thought about a T share, um, because when you get paid in hex, right, it's gonna show the amount of T shares you have on here. Um, but if we go here, um, one T share is worth 10 to the is one T share is equal 10 to the 12th shares. So if that's the case, I exaggerated a bit here with the amounts of shares that are before launch. But the ones who did stake hex from the start of launch date, they were still they still most likely yeah, they still were able to accumulate a lot more shares than you can as of today, considering that one T share is over 17,000 hex. I know I'm going to sound a bit redundant here, talking about shares, but once again, one heart equaled 1 share at launch. Um, but over time, it's going to increase. That's the share rate. And people that stake hex later, even if it's the same input as somebody who staked it at an earlier time, is going to have a worse payout. Because we go back. So this right here, this is the share price. Over 17,000 hex equals 1 T share. And if we look on this chart, which I believe I showed earlier, so around day 33, one T share was worth 61 cents, right? But as of today, one T share is worth around $240. So those who staked Hex around here were able to receive a lot of T shares, right? But say they were to stake the same amount here versus during here, right? They're going to have a lot less T shares this day than this day, because T shares they um they only increase over time, and it's going to become harder and harder to accumulate over time. So that's why you want to have as much T shares as possible and stake as early as you can. And also, to be honest, I don't really understand this equation, but it looks like this is the equation for shares. And of course, um, you want to, the share rate is going to, update over time. So yeah, new share rate is going to be greater than share rate. Other part of Hex. Um, so there's a penalty for when you unstake. Um, Making a long story short, if you unstake before the date that you committed to, you will receive a penalty and you will lose Hex. You won't have as much Hex as you did before, um, mostly. And if we go here, another thing, we go to this Twitter page, Hex Whale just to show as an example. Um, Hex Whale it keeps track of, whales that are staking Hex and who will stake insane amounts of Hex, who sells, who uh, in stake, early in stakes. So yeah, just some update not too long ago. Payout per T shares. Um, amount of Hex just sold on Uniswap. This, yep, 10 million Hex just stake for what's this? 6 months, yeah. And look here, this is how much one T share is. $240. So, and this will only increase over time. The other thing I forgot to talk about is the late unstake penalty. So not only do you get penalized for unstaking before you get to the date that you committed, but when it comes to late unstake penalty, um, you will get penalized if you forget to unstake your uh, Hex after 2 weeks. And after those 2 weeks, you will start to lose interest off the Hex that you gain from your normal stake. So also be aware of that as well. Example, um, so somebody had around 300,000 Hex, and they looks like they staked it for around a year and dedicated to a few more years, 4 or 5 years it looks like. But they unstaked it and they faced a penalty. Um, and what happens is when somebody nukes their Hex, this penalty, it gets paid out to other people who are staking their picks. So yeah, be aware of that. Um, and just to show an example of how much money you can earn from, interest of hex. So somebody staked their hex for 40 days, like 25 million hex, and then interest they gain $4,600, and that is a lot. That is a lot of hex. And there was one. So yeah, look here, 3,500, 735 days. And not too recently, can't find it, but there was somebody who staked a lot of hex for about a year, and yeah, 140K interest um, from staking hex for about over a year. So there is a lot of money to be gained from staking hex. Though there's a lot I could say, a lot more I could say about hex in this white paper, but that's the last thing I'm gonna talk about, and I will link these in the description below. But long story short, about hex inflate shares deflate. So say if you stake your hex for, I don't know, say if you have 2 million hex, you stake it for 60 days, and you have, I don't know, 50 T shares, right? That stake ends or whatnot, right? Say if you stake it the same, that principal plus interest that you got, you stake that with the same amount of days, right? You're still gonna, accumulate interest, but um, you won't have the same amount of T shares, because over time it's going to be harder to, gain more T shares, because the amount of hex per T share is going to increase. Um, and extra things considering hex. Go to pages. This part is links. There's other parts that you can, visit on hex.com. These nomics.com if you want to view hex true ranking, because they are gatekeeping hex. These other you know market cap websites like CoinGecko isn't going to tell you the real value of hex. You can swap that vision if you want to look at hex chart. Keep up with the live price of it, and other things. And yeah, there's other links. There's one cool page, testimonials. Yeah, you can look at videos here to listen to people's stories of how they got into hex. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So my final thoughts about hex, considering that it copies, it imitates certificate of deposit, because people are able to stake hex for so long, and considering that the circulating supply decreases, after people stake their hex for a certain amount of time. I feel that decreases the market manipulation. A coin might go up a ton and then it just crashes down, but that's not really how it is with hex. And as you can see, well, most of them are green now, but usually usually there will be times where the whole market is down, like in the red, and hex is only in the green. That's one unique thing about it. Also, when hex was first came out, a lot of people considered it a scam, um, and also because people don't like Richard Hart because he can come off as very arrogant, but he is one of the smartest people in the crypto space. Um, you know, people have become multimillionaires because of Hex, and people still consider this as a scam. Just like Bitcoin, just like how people still consider Bitcoin as a scam. Um, but aside from all that, considering how much money people have made off of Hex, um, I think this is the most genius crypto ever invented. This is basically Bitcoin. Hex is like Bitcoin, but with proof of stake instead of proof of work. Um, getting to Hex now is like getting to Bitcoin back in 2010, 2011. This is your chance to become set for life financially. Um, Hex is my biggest holding, and I believe that one day that this coin alone will make me a millionaire. And yeah, as far as getting into crypto, um, I would highly recommend Hex to anybody without hesitation. So yeah, those are my final thoughts about Hex. Hex isn't really available on other exchanges like Coinbase and Binance. It's only available on platforms such as Uniswap, um, and also websites don't really show Hex actual market cap, actual ranking, and Hex isn't mainstream, and it has a lot of potential. It is very very undervalued, um, and Hex will explode one day once people really understand what you know this coin is really capable of, because there's no other crypto like this. Um, very legit, so very promising. Of the video, I did the best I could as far as explaining Hex. I hope this video helps you to understand what Hex is. I would check out Richard Hart's YouTube channel. I will link it in the description below, and I will also link the white paper. But please subscribe, hit the share, like, comments button, turn on the notification bell whenever I post a new video. Check out the description below. Once again, I will see you in the next one.